first question that I have to ask you is that I know that you didn't come from a cybersecurity background. So how did you find your way into it?
Sure. So for myself, there was a lot of cybersecurity news happening during the time, and I realized how unsecure my own practices were. So reuse the same passwords, never changed passwords.
I think we're all a little victim of that.
Honestly, for me, it was just those basic cybersecurity, basic rules and guidelines that I was horrible with. And then from there, it just snowballed, and I just started diving deeper and deeper and, researching more and more about what I should be doing as types of different cyber attacks, and how, more so than anything, about how it affects me and my family. Nothing to do with companies or structures or anything like that. So, and that's where it really began for me, about really just wanting to know how to protect myself, my own, IP, my own money, and how I can really protect my family. And that's really where it started. And it just snowballed from there.
So what were you doing before you started getting to cybersecurity strategy?
So I grew up having so many different career aspirations. And so prior to cybersecurity, I was heavily within business development. But then prior to that, I also wrote children's learning programs for learning languages and teaching strategies. And then, and again, a lot of it within business development, and then HR as well. So managing teams, was working previously in the US market, in the Middle East, in Australia, and in Europe. And so quite a big diverse background, but again, it was one of those things where I had so many goals and aspirations as a child, and I just wanted to, follow them, and it all happened quite organically, to be honest.
Awesome. And going off the back of creating children's learning programs, I know that you've recently published a book about children learning Arabic. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
When I moved from Australia to Dubai in about 2008, I was really excited to be able to, I have small children, and I love learning languages, to learn Arabic with my child. But it was really difficult, more so because all of the children's language books are written in Arabic and English. But if you don't speak Arabic, or you can't read Arabic, the actual Arabic writing, then it's really hard to learn Arabic and to speak it. So I grew up learning languages. So, if you want to say like French or Spanish, then it's written in English letters. So, you have that chance to kind of follow along and get that going. So there was no book that was written in Arabic phonetically. So I wrote the first children's book written in Arabic, English, and phonetic Arabic.
Wow.
So, and this is something, at nighttime you want to read stories with your children and stuff. So just, being able to read and learn, to learn with him was really amazing. And I was so lucky that my friend, who is from Dubai, Emirati, and also one of the co-founders for Women in Cybersecurity, she was my translator and really helped me out on this journey. And then all of my co-founders, they all reviewed it as well and had a look at it. So yeah, it's good.
That's beautiful. So where could one find this book that you've published?
Sure. So you could actually find it on Amazon.ae, and in Kinokuniya in Dubai, and Abu Dhabi, and in Magrudy's bookstore in Dubai.
So I want to go back a little bit, where you said that you've co-founded a Woman in Cybersecurity, and I know you have 7 other co-founders. What inspired you to start this sort of organization with Women in Cybersecurity, and how did you all find one another?
I moved to Dubai in 2008, and prior to that I was in Australia. So, and in Australia I was heavily involved in Australian Women in Security Network. When I moved to Dubai, I realized there wasn't there wasn't any women in cybersecurity network. So I, did the next best thing and went to conferences in cybersecurity. And the first conference that I went to was in Dubai, and there were all these amazing women there. And I just went and sat with them, and I recognized a few of them that were speakers. And I just went up and introduced myself, and we just really hit it off. And I explained my background and what I'd done in Australia for women in cybersecurity, and saying how I haven't found any group like that here. Is there such a thing? And they're like, no. And then it went from, there are actually 9 of us, and it went from that to just imploding. And now 3 years later, there's over 1,000 members. We're doing mentorship. We did a conference in Dubai, then we had our first virtual conference due to COVID. So there's just, within 3 years, it's just been fantastic, the amount of interaction we've had with women, not just in the UAE. So all of these women that I met, they were from throughout the region. So the UAE, obviously, but then to Egypt and Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. And it's just been absolutely fantastic.
That's so amazing. That's incredible that you've created a network like that as well and allowed for other women to have access to that and that mentorship too. So thank you so much for doing that. That's awesome. We need more women like that in the world.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's fantastic just because all of the women, the co-founders, but everyone who's a member and just a volunteer, everyone comes from different backgrounds. So you do have many CISOs in the group. You have technical, non-technical, and everyone is, contributes, and is really, it's really empowering to see that the diverse pathways that there are into cybersecurity, because initially when people think of cybersecurity, they think of a technical person behind a computer or a laptop, and it's just not always the case. I mean, there's so many different facets and so many different areas within cybersecurity. Yes, and that's what's really important and really valuable within the group, is not only does everybody come from, different diverse cultures and backgrounds, but also have different skill sets that that hopefully someone who's looking to make a career jump, or a young person who is looking to get into cybersecurity, they can hopefully identify with and see that, there is opportunities there for them.
So what transferable skills did you take from your previous career into your current position as the head of cybersecurity strategy?
Within strategy and within, for my particular skill set and the transferable skills is communication and just bringing people and teams together. Within cybersecurity and for mine, you do have a lot of different types of team members, and to get to the end of it and get to the goal, you really do need someone who can bring everything together and communicate. So, and be the translator between the technical and the non-technical, between the business and everything happening. I mean, you really need to, for myself particularly, need to understand the goal of the business, but also how every individual and team member operates and what they need to get the job done. So not being a blocker or being the no always, which is what, cybersecurity gets a name for, but really just understanding and enabling them and giving them the tools to do their job better, but securely.
Final question before I move on to the ABCs part of the interview. I ask this to all of the women that I interview, but it can mean anything. It's such an open-ended question, but what does feminine leadership mean to you?
That's a great question. And to me, it really is seeing someone that you identify with, and in a leadership role that you can aspire and look up to, and just showing a pathway into what is possible. But one thing that I always do say, having diverse leadership, be it gender diversity, cultural diversity, all shapes of diversity, it really is about having the right person for the right role. And although you might have to look a little bit harder to get that diversity. You can do it, and it is achievable. You just have to understand the qualities of how to attract to get to that diversity level. Just having, you know, the right person for the right role, of someone that you can look up to and identify with.
Awesome. Thank you so much. What a beautiful answer. Now we're going to move on to a segment that I didn't realize would be so popular, was the ABCs of your career. So the first question is, A, what was your amazing, affluent Oprah Winfrey aha moment in your career journey?
Oh, it's a great question. I don't know. I think, you know, again, going back to just recognizing my own faults, and being true to myself, and then having the passion to follow on with that. Like, if I didn't, you know, if I was just like, oh yeah, you know, so I'm bad with my passwords, let me figure out a way to change them. But if that passion hadn't snowballed and grown from there, then I wouldn't be where I am today. So really, for me, it is following my passions. And the other side of that is, you know, when I was, you know, at university and studying, I grew up how it was choose your career path, and that's what you'll do for the rest of your life. And for me, I have been fortunate enough to follow many different passions, you know, children's language books, to cybersecurity, to business development, to HR. I mean, it's just so, like, it's a very broad, and it might seem crazy to some people, but honestly, like, I think it's, you know, for me, I have so many joys and so many passions that I'm really excited to be able to follow them. And the way that it's flowed throughout my career, you know, it's flowed quite nicely, and it's been really great.
That's awesome. And on my channel, I'm all about normalizing failure. So B comes down to, what was a blunder turned to blessing for you?
Blunder turned to blessing. You know, the first thing that comes to mind is during, obviously, the last year of COVID and working from home. I have 3 children, so working from home, doing video conferencing, and suddenly a child will be walking around the background, or suddenly you'll hear a massive loud toy of Wheels on the Bus go round and round or something. And, you know, it's just, it normalizes the situation, and it brings everyone back to reality. And it was nice. You know, it's just, you know, we're all trying to achieve a common goal, obviously, in getting our work done. But again, it just brings everyone back to reality of, like, you know, we're all in different circumstances at this moment in time. So it wasn't so bad, but that was a recent, well, actually many recent, many recent ones.
Beautiful. That just makes me think that's like such a mom answer, but a working mom. Because people
Yeah.
get women in the environment when they are moms, you know, these things happen in the background. There's kids running around. You've got to put this one to bed. You've got to take this one to school. This one's going to swimming or some sporting event. And then I think it's really normalized working moms the past year, which has been beautiful.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's been, yeah, there's been a blessing in disguise there.
And C, what would you say was your comical, cinematic, worthy moment?
Oh, probably that one. Probably same. There were so many of those. Trying to think. Not, you know, there's not, so on the comical side is obviously so many with, you know, children interrupting your conferences and videos and that sort of thing. But if I can change it around a bit as far as overcoming obstacles, like public speaking, you know, is always, you know, butterflies in stomach before you start to do anything for me. And when I first started public speaking, and I've done quite a few events and podcasts and things like that, and interviews, but you know, I remember my very first one that I did, and I was so nervous, and I honestly, I thought I was going to vomit. And I had, and this was back in Australia, and one of my fellow co-founders for Australian Women in Cyber Network, she, you know, she just gave me the best speech, and it was just beautiful, of just like, you know, and I went out there and did it, and because I wanted to not do it, and so it wasn't comical. Like, to me, thinking back is like comical a little bit in my head, just because I was like, well, I can't believe I doubted myself so much, and I was just so nervous and shaking and like sweating, and oh my God, it was awful. But I just realized that, you know, that moment when you really push yourself outside of your limits and outside of your boundaries, you can fail. You can, it was doing an interview with a very senior official from the Prime Minister's office, and I was being interviewed alongside. And yeah, I just remember going, why am I here being interviewed alongside this amazing person? And I think that's, you know, I stumbled over my words and did a few things, but at the end, like, it was authentic for sure. But it was just one of those things where I'm so happy that I pushed myself further outside of my comfort zone. And if I didn't, then I probably wouldn't have the, you know, I wouldn't be sitting here with you today, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So it wasn't very comical, but it was, to me, it was just one of those, you know, like those moments where I'm very happy that I did that.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you did, because now I've got the pleasure of speaking to you today about cybersecurity and how far you've come in your career over everything and everything you've managed to accomplish. It's incredible.
Sure, thank you. So thank you so much.
And now we're going to move to the quick fire round. So just first things that come to the top of your head. And then that's a wrap from the interview. So first question is morning or evening?
Morning.
What is your morning ritual?
Coffee.
What is a quote that you live by?
Ooh, a quote I live by is it's one that it's from my dad, and it is to be late is to be on time. To be on time is to be early.
Love that. No,
I'm always early.
Brilliant. And what are 3 books that you can recommend or that changed your life?
So within cybersecurity, I would say 2 books that I really love are by Shirag Yoshi on cyber awareness programs and creating those. And he's a dear friend of mine, and Scott Ogenbaum, who's a former FBI agent, and he created a book. And both of those are on attainable strategies and practices, and it's not theoretical, it's practical knowledge, and I absolutely love those. And I love it when people give practical knowledge instead of theoretical of, oh, you should do this, you know, and without explaining and following it up. So those are within cybersecurity. For hilariousness, I love David Sedaris. He is absolutely hilarious. Bill Bryson, because I love travel books. And That's about it, really.
Yeah.
Sure. So I'm one of those people who are a bit boring and I don't read fiction. So I love the nonfiction section.
That's not a problem, not a problem at all. Each to their own. And cereal or eggs?
Eggs.
Wonder Woman or Catwoman?
Wonder Woman.
And tea or coffee?
Coffee. Although I'm having tea right now.
Me too. What's your favorite kind of tea?
This is a turmeric and orange tea, actually.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
So
Very,
quite
very delicious.
healthy. So for it's evening for me. So a nice evening tea.
Nice soothing tea. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That's all the questions that I have. Thank you so much for taking just a moment out of your day to chat to me. I really do appreciate it. And I wish you all the best on Women in Cybersecurity.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.